Welcome to MINDSHOCK. This is your host, Bruce McGuire. We're dropping some cryptozoological bombshells today from the one and only Steven Seagal. The great one himself. Probably the most accomplished living martial artist today. We'll be doing a quick stroll down memory lane for those who haven't seen my 20-plus hour podcast series on the fact checks regarding the one and only Steven Seagal. As always, if you want to help support the MINDSHOCK podcast, help logic and reason return to a world where it is quickly going extinct, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, this channel right here, the Bruce McGuire channel. Like and share Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. Patrons do get priority for case topic, logical analysis, co-podcast requests. You could also be a guest in the podcast depending on your tier. Questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind, leave them in the comments section. Unless you are live with us in the chat, drop them in the chat. I'll try to get to each and every one of them. Alright, so Heracles in the chat saying two of my favorite topics all rolled into one. Yeah, I don't think anyone is prepared for the level of greatness that will be revealed here today. I mean, confirmation from the great one himself, Steven Seagal, of the existence of the abominable snowman, as well as the movie that never was. The world was robbed of a cinematic masterpiece in the late 90s, which would have been a film where Steven Seagal faces off against a Yeti. Now, we know mere mortals are no match for Seagal. Again, for those that don't know, I mean, let's look at the martial arts pedigree of this living legend. Let me bring up his pedigree here. I mean, I'm not sure anybody has a pedigree like this. 7th Dan Aikido. 7th Dan Kyokushin Karate. As well as black belts in Kendo, Judo, Kenjutsu, and actually, supposedly, quite a few more. I couldn't find, again, in the Seagal series. I fact-checked it all with all the receipts for all the blind Seagal haters. All the photographic evidence, the certificates, the live video interview, actual video footage of karate masters, some of the most credentialed and respected in the world, verifying the legitness of the one and only Steven Seagal. So, yeah, what does everybody think? Before we get into the receipts here, let's do a quick poll here. Heracles asking if the Yeti is trained. Now, would the Yeti have to be trained? So if an average Yeti is, what, 8.5 to 14 feet tall, somewhere around there? I mean, well over 1,000 pounds of probably pure muscle just from surviving out there in the wilds. I mean, would it even need to be trained in any martial arts? I mean, just the ferocity of a wild Yeti. Now, if we're talking a tamed Yeti in confinement at some kind of a zoo, I mean, that might be a different story. But we're talking about Seagal versus a wild Yeti. Heracles saying, imagine if Seagal trained a Yeti. Well, that would have been part 2, where in an attempt to make amends for killing a Yeti, Seagal travels to the Yeti's family and trains them in the most legit forms of martial arts ever. Aikido. Jeff Hunt saying he could kill him with only dialogue. Well, Seagal, obviously a man of many talents. But yeah, it's just kind of sad that this movie never got made. And we'll be getting into the receipts of all of this in a moment. But can you imagine if a movie where Seagal faced off against the Yeti actually got made? I mean, it would have made like the Lord of the Rings trilogy look like amateur hour. I mean, such a cinematic masterpiece would have absolutely swept the Academy Awards. I mean, it's just so sad that the world was robbed of a potential cinematic masterpiece that would have continued echoing through the ages of humanity until the end of time. But okay, let's do a quick poll here on who would win between Seagal and a Yeti in a real life showdown. Because obviously, mere mortals, they don't stand a chance against Seagal. But let me just put up the poll real quick. So there's the poll there. Would Steven Seagal defeat a Yeti in unarmed combat? Jeff Hunt saying throw in an alien just for stunts. See, now once you open the can of worms of aliens, are we talking interdimensional? Are we talking telepathic, telekinetic abilities of aliens? Because if the alien can just freeze humans with their mind, I mean, obviously that wouldn't work on a human like Seagal. I mean, I don't even know if he's human, but there's so many more variables that come into play with aliens. Although a Steven Seagal alien movie would be pretty cool. Steven Seagal did do a vampire movie, and yeah, I mean, quite blasphemous of myself to have not seen it, but I'm gonna have to check out. I mean, I've seen every single Seagal movie from Above the Law in the 80s, all of his 90s films, and all of his films in the early 2000s. Here, let me see where I stopped. I might have even seen every Seagal film up to 2010. But then he started making so many of them, it's kind of hard to keep up. I know it's blasphemous. I mean, what kind of person hasn't seen his entire filmography? He's got 58 credits. So, let's see here. Okay, oh wow, I am mistaken. Okay, so I've seen some random movies through 2012-ish. Let's see, what's the last Seagal movie I saw? I saw most of China Salesman from 2017. And then the last one I saw before that was, I believe, Born to Raise Hell 2010. A U.S. drugs cop in Bucharest is up against a Russian gun and drug trafficker employing cute women and a gypsy gang leader who plunders, rapes, and kills the young and rich. Lots of fighting and shooting. That's actually the official description on the IMDb. Lots of fighting and shooting. So, yeah, I've seen that one. So that's probably the last one I've watched all the way through. Born to Raise Hell 2010. And then I've seen A Dangerous Man 2009, The Keeper 2009, Driven to Kill. Yeah, I've seen all these. Actually, yeah, I've seen all of... Actually, I believe I missed Pistol Whipped. How the heck did I miss that from 2008? And I missed... Urban Justice I might have seen. That was 2007. Flight of Fury I have not seen. That's 2007. And then I've seen... And I also missed Black Dawn 2005. But I've seen all of the other ones. Okay, so I'm up to date through 2004. I missed Black Dawn 2005, but I've seen Mercenary for Justice and Shadow Man 2006. Attack Force 2006. Flight of Fury 2007. I missed that one. Can't remember. I think I saw Urban Justice, but I missed Pistol Whip 2008. I watched Kill Switch 2008. I don't have anything good to say about that movie. Against the Dark is the vampire movie 2009. I have seen Driven to Kill and The Keeper and A Dangerous Man all 2009 and Born to Raise all 2010, but I missed Against the Dark, the vampire movie from 2009. I have no idea how I missed this film. I mean, let's check out the description here. In a post-apocalyptic world, a master swordsman leads a squad of ex-military vigilantes into a hospital on a mission to rescue trapped survivors from bloodthirsty, disease-infected humans. So maybe this isn't officially vampires. It's like some kind of vampire adjacent subgenre. But how did I miss this film? I mean, with a description like that, with a plot synopsis like that, I have no idea how I missed this film. I mean, wow. But anyway, The Fall Enslaves Us All is actually talking about some kind of love scene between Seagal and the Yeti. Oh, that would be weird. Heracles says Predator and Yeti. That would be very cool if they did a Predator movie. Oh, speaking of Predator, did you guys know Seagal was actually supposed to be in Predator 2? I mean, we'll be getting into that. Let's first... Actually, what do you guys want to go through first? Do you guys want to go through the receipts for the Yeti? Or all of Seagal's... all of the would-be Seagal projects that never happened? Because we're going to be doing both today. We're going to be doing both. So, 100% of voters say Seagal would defeat a Yeti in unarmed combat. Jeff Hunt says, my dad was hooked on Seagal. He was a Golden Gloves champ in the day he could spot BS. Jeff Hunt, did you happen to catch the 20-plus hours Seagal series with all the receipts on MINDSHOCK? I need a couple more days, up to a week. It might even be a little over a week before I get the whole archive up. But it is in process. It's all in process. It's not going to take that much longer for the MINDSHOCK archive to get back online. So what do you guys want to go over first? Do you want to go over the Seagal projects that never were? Or do you want to go over the receipts for Seagal confirming the Yeti's existence? Which one you want to go over first? The chat will decide. Flat Bob says, ho. Oh, yo. That was a typo. Fallen Slaves Us All says the projects that never were. Jeff Hunt just has popcorn. Heracles says receipts. So we're 1-1 and neutral. So we need a tiebreaker here. We need a tiebreaker for what we're going over first. Because that was a teaser. Steven Seagal was actually supposed to be in Predator 2. So we need a tiebreaker here. The Fallen... Okay, Jeff Hunt's for the receipts. Okay, we're going to go over the Yeti receipts first. Then we'll go over the projects that never were. Okay, so we're going to go to... So, shout out to Viking Samurai, who makes some good content regarding 80s and 90s action martial arts movies. He just made a video on this a few days ago, and let's go over the source of that video, because Viking Samurai was using this podcast interview. Oh, this is getting copyright. Oh, man. Alright. Let's see what we can figure out here. Okay, so this is Brigade Radio 1. Released this June 29th, 2003 here. Former Warner Brothers Senior VP Bill Daly of Harry Potter, Batman, The Matrix, and Warner Brothers vet Ethan Dettenmeyer talk Steven Seagal. So, let's go over this from their podcast and what was revealed about Steven Seagal.
You were talking about how people in certain production meetings would not take notes because they didn't want to be deposed.
If there was a
was this related to
deposition.
Seagal? Was this related to like the
Yes,
Pelicano?
only not Pelicano specifically, but more Jules Nassau, because Jules Nassau was considered to be something of a slippery character. But I don't know. I've met him, but only at screenings. I don't remember ever going into a meeting with Jules, but it's possible I could have. Look, we were working
Right.
on a lot of movies at the same time, and a lot of them just flow right together.
So So you don't remember your first meeting with Seagal, but mine was something like right out of like a Francis Ford Coppola movie because it was up at his house on Mandeville Canyon. And at first I thought the house in front of his was his and no one was answering the door, like the gate, the perimeter door. And so Loda goes, why don't you just jump the wall and knock on the, and I'm like, I'm not jumping Seagal's wall. So anyway, we finally found out that it was the driveway to the left and we go up to his house.
That was probably a good call on this guy's part not to jump Seagal's vault. This is actually crazy synchronicity because who remembers the Bruce Lee story where somebody jumped Bruce Lee's wall and Bruce Lee just decimated it, just absolutely decimated them? And there were rumors that the guy that jumped Bruce Lee's wall was the one and only Steven Seagal. Again, this I actually went over this for about an hour. This rumor, because it overlaps Seagal claiming that he met and trained with Bruce Lee, and we actually have all the receipts for that, including Dan Inosanto's brother. Is that his brother-in-law or his son-in-law? Who verified that Steven Seagal hung out with them and did some kind of training with them and Bruce Lee. So who remembers that from the Seagal series? So this is actually kind of funny because now it was never confirmed that the guy that jumped the wall was Seagal, but it apparently Eno Santos, more than one individual, I think 2 individuals confirmed that or claimed that Seagal did in fact meet Bruce Lee on at least 1 or 2 occasions and trained with him. And Seagal's made these claims for decades, but only once or twice in Black Belt Magazine and 1 or 2 other interviews, and we actually went over all those receipts in the Seagal series. South to West says Seagal definitely knows more than he's letting on. That is true. That is true. Flat Bob says in the chat here, I must say I'll be the blasphemer and say the Yeti would totally whoop up on Seagal. I mean, yeah, I guess we need to know exactly how long the claws of the Yeti are. And exactly how big is the Yeti. If it's a smaller Yeti, I'm going with Seagal. If it's an absolutely monster 14-foot Yeti, some kind of 3,000-pound 14-foot Yeti with really long claws, I mean, that's gonna be tough. I don't know if I'm still not 100% sure. I'm gonna go up, bet against Seagal, but I just don't know in that kind of situation. But I think Seagal could take a smaller Yeti. All right, so yeah, if the stream is weird, just refresh it. Sometimes it gets a little laggy. All right, let's continue the interview here.
And he's got like this room with like this long table that ends with like a big velvet red throne, and he shows up in like his black pajamas, like he's a member of the Viet Cong.
Like he's like on Joel Silver's staff.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we love Joel Silver. We've got some great Joel Silver stories that are hilarious. You and I have some good ones. But so he's sitting at the top of this throne, like an opium lord, basically. And I presented him the Night Fever script, and he goes, I like this script. And I'm like, great, good. So Co-America's there, like, right? They were going to be the financing arm. And I go, so we're good. We're in agreement. We can move forward. I can't make this movie. Some people I know in Southeast Asia would be be very upset with me if I do this movie in the Black Ops community. So I'm like, okay, let's do a rewrite on it. He's like, no, I want to do a horror movie. And if you can write like I write, then you should have a script to me in about 24 hours. And I'm like, what? Like 24 hours for a script?
He only rewrites his own dialogue.
Right, exactly. Exactly. He also got wind that we knew some of the members of the group in Vogue, and he really wanted to rope them into some kind of co-starring role, which was really awkward at the way that was presented. But anyway, so I go, I'm not getting you a script in 24 hours, but I'll get you some ideas. And like 2 or 3 days later, he calls me and goes, so what do you have for me? And I go down this list of ideas, right? And start with the strong ones. And they're all horror-based ideas, Corman-esque ideas.
Yeah.
And I get to the last one, and it's probably the weak. I mean, when you're trying to round out a list of content,
These guys sound kind of jealous of Seagal. Like, just because Seagal can write a bunch of scripts in 24 hours, I mean, and they can't. They sound kind of salty here. They sound a little salty here, these so-called professionals from big Hollywood studios. They sound a little salty. What does everybody else think? En Vogue collaboration? That would have been hilarious. Oh man, can you imagine? Like I said, I mean, we've been robbed of some true cinematic all-time masterpieces with some of these unmade, unrealized Seagal projects. And Seagal's quite the musician, so he knows what he's talking about when it comes to music. I mean, one of the all-time greats is Seagal, not just on the blues scene, but I mean, he's a master of many genres. But yeah, a Steven Seagal and Vogue collaboration. I mean, wow. That would have been interesting, huh? In the YETI movie. In the YETI. I mean, like I said, we've been robbed of some truly all-time cinematic masterpieces here.
you're going to have the powerful ones up front, and you're going to want to sound extensive. So you start getting weaker and weaker and weaker as the list progresses. But I get to the last item, number 25, right? And I go, okay. Diplomatic flight in the Himalayas goes down. Empire Strikes Back type YETI comes up, pops in and out of the frame like Jaws, tears it apart. You're the special forces guy that's got to go in, and we'll call it Snowblind. That's the one. And then he goes like this. He goes, and those creatures do exist. And the reason nobody sees them is because they have the ability to transcend dimensions.
So, did everybody catch this? So, Steven Seagal might have been the original whistleblower on interdimensional YETI and Bigfoot. Because this project, let me give the exact date here. So, the Snowblind project was 1999. So, everything occurring that they're talking about in this podcast would have been 97, 98, 99, somewhere around there. So Steven Seagal in the 90s is he the originator of the interdimensional cryptid theory? Because Seagal here, I mean, these guys, he's doing a Seagal impression, so he's kind of whispering. So for those that are having trouble hearing, I mean, I got the volume jacked all the way up. I can't make it louder. But, Justin Johnson, you're just in time here. Steven Seagal, he might have been the originator of the interdimensional cryptid theory. Because he's claiming these creatures do exist, and they're interdimensional. I mean, who was expecting this kind of mind shock bombshell tonight? So let's do another stroll down memory lane for those that are not familiar with the Seagal receipts. Seagal is an officially recognized reincarnated llama. For those that don't know, he's spent a lot of time in Tibet over the decades, so clearly he has insider knowledge of the Tibetans and the Abominable Snowman, the Yeti. They supposedly even have Yeti bodies that are guarded in Tibetan monasteries. I mean, Steven Seagal is very familiar with Tibet, with the llamas, being a reincarnated llama himself. I mean, how much more receipts can we have of Seagal in Tibet with insider knowledge of whatever ancient Tibetan monastery secrets hold, or the secrets the monasteries hold? I mean, this guy's a reincarnated llama, officially recognized, and he's claiming here in the 90s, he's claiming that the Yeti are interdimensional. I mean, wow. I mean, that's pretty incredible. That's pretty incredible. What does everybody think of this? I mean, how much more receipts could we have of Seagal in Tibet? Flat Bob says, okay, now I have to know if there's a fire-breathing Yeti. Well, we gotta ask Seagal. Can you imagine the amount of untold secrets Seagal holds just all over the world with all of his vast knowledge and insider information in so many ancient parts of the world? Lord Zed says, this is a hell of a receipt, Bruce. I mean, it's a big one. It's a big one. I mean, again, I mean, this might be an official, I guess we're going to add this to the, once I get the Seagal playlist back online. I mean, we're going to be going on 30 hours of Seagal receipts, and now we have Steven Seagal in the 90s. In the 90s. With the interdimensional Yeti theory. See, if he said this last year, I mean, you know, what are you going to do? It wouldn't really be that impressive. This is from the 1990s. Seagal is making these claims about the Yeti. I mean, this is truly, truly incredible. Let's continue here with this interview.
And I'm sitting there thinking, all right, so this is the Bill Daly question right here, right? Because I'm thinking like, fuck, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. So I said, he's testing me. He wants to see if I'm a yes man or if I'm going to stand up and be like, whoa, that's dumb. Instead, I realized, well, wait a minute. He's also extremely egotistical. So he probably thinks everything that comes out of his mouth is gold.
So these guys are really salty about Seagal. They sound pretty jealous about Seagal. But look at the, I mean, instantly it was the appeal to incredulity logical fallacy. It was the ad hom logical fallacy, the genetic logical fallacy. And is he really egotistical? Because, again, from our 26-hour Seagal series, he appears to have downplayed all of his abilities and accomplishments. From all the receipts we went over, he actually appears to have accomplished far more than he has claimed. So, I mean, that's really interesting. That's really, really interesting. Because, and who knows how much they're projecting with their own egos and incomprehension. But that's very curious because, again, like we went through Seagal's, receipts and Seagal's resume in so many areas. I mean, this guy's a fashion icon putting on his own fashion shows in India. How often does he talk about that? I mean, this guy's an accomplished musician who all-time blues greats have nothing but phenomenal things to say about him. I mean, he's downplayed his accomplishments in non-Aikido martial arts. I mean, he doesn't even talk about it, his dan, how accomplished he is in Kyoto Koshin, how many dans he has. He never even mentions that, or his black belts in all these other arts. So Seagal appears to be, he seems to be relatively humble in terms of downplaying his accomplishment, because he does say what he did and some of the stuff he does, but it's all downplayed. Because once we start looking at the receipts, he's accomplished so much more than he's mentioned. So these guys are pretty funny. South to West sounds like a soy podcast. They appear to be quite salty and soy infused, yes. But again, Seagal's just accomplished so much more than any of them could even fathom in so many different fields of endeavor.
So the question to Bill Daley, former WB senior VP, how do you answer that question? And then I'll give you my actual answer. How does Bill Daley answer it in the meeting?
That they can transcend time.
Well, they can transcend. The reason no one's seen a YETI is because it can transcend dimensions.
Dimensions. Wow.
It's like a Leonard Nimoy in search of question, right? Like, where's the ancient aliens crew when we need 'em?
So Billy Davis then from the fifth dimension, he's a YETI. That's what he's saying.
So the thing about, so I'm on the fence, right?
Well, it's like, well, how come? Me. I would ask. I mean, if he said that to me with a straight face, I'd ask him, well, how come you haven't done a script about that?
Well, see, that was my role. I was supposed to fill the void that would become the script. But so I said, I just thought real quick, like, how do you answer this? Because that sounds so ridiculous, but he doesn't have a gauge that says I sound ridiculous. Like, he's tone deaf. So
what's kind of hilarious? He's saying that Seagal is tone deaf, and Seagal, because again, he's got his appeal to incredulity, but if Seagal knows what he's saying is true, and Seagal isn't so insecure like these goofs, they're so insecure, they're so worried about what other people are going to think. If you're a guy like Seagal, you're speaking the truth. Seagal isn't that insecure, so if he wants to tell the truth and gauge the reaction, so he probably was trying to gauge the reaction of these guys, whether or not he wants to work with them or they could produce a good script, etc. But it's interesting, the psychological projection here, because this guy's so tone deaf, so to speak, he doesn't understand what Seagal was doing there. Because Seagal, that seemed like a test from Seagal to see if what the response would be there, to see if this guy's even qualified to write the script. Jeff Hunt says, Eastern traditions come with knowledge that seems supernatural to a dumb Westerner. Well, yeah, but not only that, but again, like this goof, if this goof is just this utterly mentally deficient, he can't grasp that there could be things that are real outside of his tiny little box of knowledge, which can basically not only be rounded to zero, but how much of this tiny box is even true in the first place? So, just the level of goofery on display here, but it's interesting, the psychologically projected tone deafness, because Seagal obviously knows full well what that sounds like. And that was a test here, and looks like this guy failed the test utterly.
I just turned around and I go, Steven, if that's what you want, it's my job to make it work on the page. Like, what else do you tell the guy, right?
So that's that interview there. So pretty funny stuff here from these goofs, but they didn't even realize the gems they provided here. Because I don't recall anybody talking interdimensional Yetis in the 90s. I mean, maybe there were other people purporting that, but I mean, I've mostly seen that in the 2000s on the internet. But yeah, it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny. I kind of want to see Seagal react to this interview. It'd be pretty funny. But that's the other thing about Seagal. Like, he's so not insecure like all these goofs. It seems like he couldn't care less what mental midgets think of him. So that's, that's always funny regarding Seagal and other people, because the psychologically projected tone deafness, I think Seagal knows full well how he sounds to the ignorant. And he's just testing them to see the response. But they're so tone deaf and lack awareness, they don't even realize what Seagal is doing, which is kind of funny. I kind of do the same thing sometimes, not just on this podcast, but when I talk to certain people about certain subjects, I'll throw out something that I'm fully aware the average Dunning-Kruger goof is going to find incredulous, just to gauge the reaction, to see how much logic is possessed by an individual. So, obviously, Seagal was doing that as well. Jeff Hunt says, they also didn't suspect the interview would go under forensic analysis. Okay, sure. But that doesn't change anything, though, because, yeah, I mean, it's just funny. Obviously, these are just guys talking, but these are Hollywood execs, major film studio associated individuals here. So, yeah, I mean, that's just so interesting that Seagal was interested in a YETI project. And not only that, but, well, he wanted En Vogue in it. And not only that, but he revealed that YETI are real and that they are interdimensional. Now, if he didn't have all these ties to Tibet, see, this is what's interesting, right? Because if Seagal wasn't an officially recognized reincarnated Lama who spent so much time in Tibet and is so well versed in their spiritual knowledge, then these comments about the Yeti, we could be like, whatever, maybe he read that in a book somewhere. But I mean, this is a guy, and these goof studio execs, they might have not even known that Seagal spent all this time in Tibet, in the Himalayas, and might have insider knowledge specifically about YETI. Jeff Hunt says, you're a historian and didn't know it, Bruce. Didn't know what? What are we talking about here? Didn't know what. But anyway, so yeah, what makes it interesting is Seagal's extensive experience in Tibet. But what a movie this would have been if it were made. Alright, so let's go to all the Seagal projects that never were. There's a very interesting website called listofdeaths.fandom.com, and they even keep track of unreleased films. So, it's pretty curious here. So, who knows? Does anybody know who the original stars of Demolition Man 1993 were supposed to be? This is a fun one. So, Demolition Man is, of course, the infamous action movie from the early 90s. A lot of eerie foreshadowing in this one, which ultimately starred Stallone and Snipes. But who knows who the original stars were supposed to be? Anybody know about this? Jeff Hunt, what do you mean, you still didn't answer? I didn't know what about what? Documenting the life of in the future, they'll be looking at this, Bruce? The Life of Seagal? Okay, anyway, with Demolition Man, nobody knows. It was actually supposed to be Steven Seagal and Jean-Claude Van Damme. How awesome would that have been? I mean, Demolition Man was okay. Not one of my favorite films. But if it were Seagal and Van Damme, that oh man. That movie would have done some serious damage if they actually went through with that one. In 2008, Jean-Claude Van Damme said this in an MTV interview, quote, "Years ago it was proposed that I would do a film with Steven Seagal. I was supposed to be in Demolition Man with him. It was a great project. The script I read was a lot different than the one Sly did with Wesley Snipes. I was the bad guy, he was the good guy because he was the Warner Brothers guy." So I don't know why that ultimately fell through, but that would have been really awesome. Just like a Seagal YETI movie would have been with En Vogue would have been. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, literally, everything made today literally pales in comparison to even the unmade projects of the 90s. I mean, that's a kind of a funny thing to think about. And also, another Stallone movie. This one I actually am a fan of. Who's seen the Stallone movie, The Specialist, with Stallone and Sharon Stone? It's kind of underrated. Nobody really talks about it anymore. I thought it was a pretty decent movie. And also, what's kind of curious about this one is that the one and only Steven Seagal was offered to star and direct the movie. Seagal was a fan of the script, but he wanted the sex scenes toned down and wanted $9 million. The studio didn't want to pay Seagal and offered it to Stallone instead. Yeah, I mean, look at the integrity of Seagal. Or maybe he just didn't like Sharon Stone. I mean, I don't know. Lord Zed says, "Bruce, I'm ashamed to say I never saw." Which one? You never saw The Specialist? Jeff Hunt says, "Or Turned Up and 6 million." I don't know. I wonder, has Seagal ever made... Hold on, let me see if Steven Seagal has made any comments regarding Sharon Stone. Because this would have been off Basic Instinct, so maybe that's why Seagal was having some second thoughts here. Oh, I totally forgot. Sharon Stone played his wife in Above the Law. Wow, how did I completely forget about that? Okay, so they do know each other and have worked together before. Interesting. That's pretty interesting. Huh. How did I totally forget that? Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, Sharon Stone played his wife in his debut film, Above the Law. Totally forgot that, wow. Lord Zed says, "I never saw The Specialist. I thought I saw all of Sly's movies. Really surprised I missed it." Did you see Stop or My Mom Will Shoot? I don't know why that one gets so much hate. It's actually kind of funny. I actually have not seen all of Stallone's movies. I missed some of his earlier ones. I don't think I've seen Fist. F-I-S-T from the 90s. But who has seen... I mean, you gotta be a really hardcore Stallone fan to have seen Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. I mean, this movie gets so much hate. But I mean, it's pretty much better than anything made today. I mean, what movie made today is better than Stop or My Mom Will Shoot? It's kind of a funny movie. I really don't know why it gets so much hate. Jeff Hunt says, Stallone complained about Snipes hurting him in Demo Man. Well, I mean, they reunited for the Expendables, so, or whatever, was that Expendables 2 or 3, whatever one they were in. Heracles says, I saw it. Okay, you are a true Stallone aficionado, Heracles. You are a Stallone aficionado. Yeah, I missed Fist, and then there was also something Ali. I'll bring it up in a second. So, Stallone had this movie. I have no idea if it's good or not. I mean, most of Stallone's movies are pretty solid, so I can't imagine that it's actually really horrible. But I have not seen this one. I think it actually is out on Blu-ray. And then there's another movie. Something Alley. Paradise Alley. He kind of looks like, he's got some Rocky 1 wardrobe going on here in Paradise Alley. Let me read the description. I mean, these are some 70s movies. So, Paradise Alley, 1978. It is oh, he directed it too? I didn't even know that. Now I really want to see it. Whoa, this is his directorial debut? I did not even know that. I thought his directorial debut was in the Rocky series. Wow. I had no idea. And Tom Waits is in it too. Interesting. The film tells the story of 3 Italian-American brothers in Hell's Kitchen in the 40s who become involved in professional wrestling? Man, this sounds right up my alley. How did I not see this movie? A 1970s pro wrestling movie starring and directed by Stallone? What? And written by Stallone? What? Who has seen this movie? Because I have not seen this movie. Jeff Hunt says, the classics are so much better than green screen crap these days. Lord Zed says, my dad always says watch the one with Stallone and Henry Winkler. So Justin Johnson said never heard of that. Who has seen, so Heracles says, I've seen it thankfully on Network TV. Are you talking about Fist or are you talking about Paradise Alley? Jeff Hunt says, over the top rocked. Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Over the top. A classic, no doubt. I actually have a podcast coming up that has a tie-in with Over the Top. But Stallone didn't direct Over the Top. Menachem Golan of Cannon Films actually directed Over the Top. Has anybody seen Electric Boogaloo, the story of Cannon Films? That's a hilarious documentary about all those awesome 80s movies. So, okay, Heracles, are you talking... Oh, you saw Paradise Alley? Is it good? Or is it pretty bad? I'm getting a little off track here with getting into Stallone movies. I don't know if we've even gone over Stallone extensively on MINDSHOCK, but maybe we should. Lord Zed says, the one my dad suggested is Lords of Flatbush. Jeff Hunt says, off topic, but I caught Repo Man the other night. Oh, man. Are you talking about the Repo Man? So let me, because I know there was a few movies. Are you talking about the Emilio Estevez movie? Because I think there's another one, but the Emilio Estevez 84 movie is the one I'm assuming you're referring to. Oh, man. Emilio Estevez doesn't get a lot of talk these days either. He was kind of awesome in the 80s. Heracles says it is good overall, but dated and low budget. Well, I would still bet. I mean, are there any movies coming out today that are better than Paradise Alley? That'd be a good question. And what about Fist? Who's seen Fist? Let's read the synopsis on Fist. I have no idea how I have not seen these two movies because I believe I've seen every other Stallone movie. I believe. We can go through the list real quick. Oh, I've seen Oscar, but it's when it first came out. I don't really remember any of it. It's like I think it's the musical. Is that the musical one? Not a fan of that one. Yeah, let's look at Stallone's filmography here. Let's look at, okay. Actor. Oh, okay. So he did, what the heck? The Square Root, 1969. University of Miami student does a picture story on an LSD party on the beach, starring Tina Robertson and Sylvester Stallone. Is this a feature film or a short film? It's about an LSD party? What? Yeah, I actually think, you know what's kind of crazy? I think this popped up kind of recent on IMDb because there's some student films or just some of these super low budget films that nobody ever knew about with famous actors. Because this is 1969. I wasn't even aware Stallone did any movies in the 60s. So there's only 2 credited actors here. So I don't know if this is a student film or what. So he was also an extra in MASH. He was a soldier sitting at a camp table, 1970. The Party at Kitty and Studs. I think that's the adult film that he did. I think. Yeah. That was 1970. Then he was... Okay, so he actually did a lot of uncredited roles. And then he was also in Rebel. Huh. Wow. Here's another one I have not seen. Rebel, 1973. Either starring or co-starring Sylvester Stallone. Check this out. I never even knew this movie existed. Wow, we're really going down the Seagal, the Stallone rabbit holes on a Seagal podcast, but look at this movie, Rebel. And let's look at the synopsis here. Late 60s New York, a politically motivated group of students plans bombings of company offices who do business with dictators in middle American countries, but when they contact a bombing specialist, the FBI gets on their tracks. So this is Tony Page and Stallone. 1973 original title, No Place to Hide. This actually looks kind of decent. I might have to check this out. Again, I mean, even if it's bad, I mean, it can't be worse than anything coming out today. I mean, this looks kind of interesting. Okay, Lords of Flatbush. That's Stallone and Winkler. I don't believe I've seen this one either. So it looks like I'm missing quite a bit in the Stallone filmography. He also did, okay, The Prisoner of 2nd Avenue with Jack Lemmon. Looks like he had a bit part. Some guy to park. Okay. And he was in Capone? Wait, really? Huh. I've seen Capone. I totally did not know that Stallone was in it. Okay. And then Death Race 2000, 1975. Saw that one. Farewell, My Lovely. Robert Mitchum, Charlotte Rampling, John Ireland. And Stallone is in this one too. Haven't seen this one. That was 75. Then he did the Police Story he was in an episode of the Police Story TV series, not to be confused with the Jackie Chan film series, the American series. And then he was also in an episode of Kojak. He was uncredited in Cannonball, 1976, with David Carradine. And then he did Rocky, then Fist, then Paradise Alley, then Rocky 2, then Nighthawks, 1981. Okay. And that's with Rutger Hauer. Man, this one looks familiar. I want to say I might have seen it on TV, but I don't remember anything about it, so I'd have to rewatch that one. Then he did Victory 1981, Allied POW soccer game movie. Vaguely remember that one. Rocky 3, First Blood. He was uncredited in the 1983 movie Staying Alive with Travolta. Rhinestone I also have not seen. I don't think I've seen it. I might have seen it if it was on TV in the background somewhere. So that's Stallone and Dolly Parton in Rhinestone. Rambo First Blood Part 2, Rocky 4, Cobra, Over the Top, Rambo 3, Lock Up, Tango and Cash, Rocky 5, Oscars 91. Wow, I actually thought it was older than that. Wow, that's interesting. Wait, was Oscar the musical? Or did he just sing in? Okay, so it's not a musical, but there was just a scene where he was singing, because I remember some kind of music number. Unless I'm getting my movies mixed up, but I don't remember anything about Oscar. So then he was, okay, so then he did Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, Cliffhanger, Demolition Man, The Specialist, Judge Dredd, Assassins, Daylight, that was pretty cool, Copland, The Good Life. 3 guys moved from Jersey to Miami. 2 of them end up killing the third. That's Frank Stallone, Dennis Hopper, Peter Dobson. I guess he has a small role in that one. Haven't seen that one. Get Carter, Driven, I See You, Avenging Angelo. Shade. Okay, that's a weird movie. That's 2003. And I guess he has a bit role in this one. Haven't seen that one. Spy Kids 3, Game Over. Have not seen that either. Rocky Balboa, Rambo, The Expendables. He did The Voice and Zookeeper. Didn't see that one. Bullet in the Head 2012. That was really good. That was probably one of the last great action movies. The Expendables, Escape Plan, Grudge Match. Oh, Reach Me I have not seen either. That's 2014, some kind of ensemble cast, I guess. Stallone, Kira Sedgwick, Thomas Jane, Kelsey Grammer, Terry Crews, Nelly, Tom Berenger. A lot of... okay. Yeah, I haven't seen this one. A self-help book changes the lives of different people in the LA area. Who is the reclusive writer? Okay, so I haven't seen that one. Creed, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Haven't seen that one. I haven't seen the animated movies he voiced. This Is Us TV series. He was in one episode, 2017. Haven't seen that. Escape Plan 2, saw that. Creed 2, saw that. Backtrace, saw that. 2018, one of the worst movies ever made. That was horrible. Escape Plan The Extractors. Did I see that? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think I did. Wait, Batista's in it? Maybe I didn't. Wait, did I see this? I don't even remember. I saw 1 and 2. I don't remember if I saw the third one. He did the movie Rallying Cry. Interesting. Did not see this. So 2019, Jasper Reese, Sylvester Stallone, delivers a rousing rallying cry in this short film based on the video game Battle Strike Force, inviting anyone willing to join the fight against the Iron Order. That looks kind of cool, actually. Samaritan 2022, did see that. That was pretty good, actually. Really good ending. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, didn't see that. Expendables 4, saw that, unfortunately. That was really bad. The last Expendables. And this is coming from a pretty big fan of the first 3. Okay. So let me catch up in the chat here. Okay. Yeah, so I missed some of Stallone's earlier ones. Rebel actually looks kind of decent. I kind of want to watch that one. Actually, I'd want to watch all three. I gotta catch up on these. Fist, Rebel, and Paradise Alley. Lord Zed says, Oscar is so good, not a musical, but corny, great, though, in my opinion. I'm gonna have to watch it again. I mean, you also have a new appreciation, because when you're younger in the 80s and 90s, some of the movies you don't like, but pretty much all of the movies I didn't like when they were released in the 80s and 90s, I ended up kind of liking them, watching them post-2000. Just especially in light of all of the trash coming out now. Lord Zed says, dude, there's a lot of Sly movies from before 1980 I didn't know about. Yeah, there's a few. There's a few. Now, Rousseau says, allegedly John Travolta was in love with Steven. Well, who isn't? Lord Zed says, Driven was awesome. Yeah, Party at Kitty's was so weird. Yeah, I don't really have a desire to see that one. Lord Zed says, might skip Rhinestone. Yeah, I don't know if I could bring myself to watch Rhinestone. Although, if I end up watching every single other Stallone, I'm gonna have to watch it just to complete the filmography. But yeah, that would probably be last on the list for me. Lord Zed says, I'll never watch Creed 3. He said he won't either. It's actually a really good movie, though. I actually kind of liked it. I mean, they all get worse, but it actually was pretty good, especially considering modern movies are also horrible. Creed 3 was actually decent. Yeah, it really wasn't that bad. Stallone should have been in it, though. And the reason he wouldn't watch it isn't that it isn't good, it's just because of the producer who won't give him the rights to Rocky. So that's just an ongoing disagreement. Flat Bob says, I stopped watching The Expendables after the second one. Yeah, the third one is not absolutely horrible, although it's a huge step down. But the fourth one really is trash. I mean, wow, I'm a huge fan of action movies, and the fourth one's borderline unwatchable. Jeff Hunt says Expendables was a ritual troll played by the Hollywood. What do you? I need some expansion on that. Jeff Hunt, go expand on that. I thought the first one was really solid, actually. And what was that? Stone Cold Steve Austin actually broke Stallone's neck. We're getting a little off topic here. We're supposed to be talking about unmade Seagal films, but we kind of went off in the weeds with Stallone here. Lord Zed says, John Travolta loving Steven is the least gay thing I ever heard about him. Okay, I gotta scroll past that comment. Okay. Flat Bob says, fantastic. I started the week with Flat Earth Fridays into stationary Saturdays. Now I'm rounding the week off with MINDSHOCK Sunday. And Steven Seagal. And interdimensional Yetis. Lord Zed says, I'd bet I'd like Creed 3, but they messed with Sly's money. Yeah, especially if you like Mike Tyson, you're gonna like Creed 3. Like Mike Tyson the boxer. Like the boxing aspect of Tyson. Flat Bob says, is it like the Fast and the Furious movies where it just gets more and more ridiculous with each sequel? No. Not like it at all. Like, Creed 3 is actually pretty good. It's just not as good as 2, which isn't as good as 1. But it's still really good. And it's a little different than Creed 1 and 2 in tone. And I kind of liked it. I mean, obviously, everybody knew Stallone wasn't in it. So, it's definitely a tonal shift. I mean, there's parts of it that are pretty cheesy, but if you like Mike Tyson, you will like Creed 3, I believe. Jeff Hunt says they're washed up, so they mocked them in the script, throwing in secrets. That's interesting. I've actually never heard that before. It would, yeah, we might have to do an Expendables series, Illuminati symbolism watch party. Okay. Flat Bob meant the Expendables more ridiculous. Still no. Still nowhere near as bad as the Fast and the Furious. Like, yeah, nowhere near as bad. But just, it's not even the ridiculousness per se. It's just trash. I mean, just all aspect of filmmaking. Because the Fast and the Furious movies, the newer ones, I mean, they're actually really glitzy. I mean, they're high budget, they're polished. I mean, it's just obviously the physics goes out the window and the plot's kind of nonsensical, but they're still polished movies. Expendables 3 and 4, I don't know if I would even call them that polished. They're just bad. I mean, I don't know if they're that unrealistic. I actually don't recall anything just so horribly unrealistic like in the Fast and the Furious series. It's just boring to watch. I mean, there's just no soul in it. It's not nonsensical from a physics standpoint from what I remember, just from every other standpoint. So, anyway. All right, let's get back on track here with Seagal's projects. Yeah, we might have to do a Stallone deep dive. I need to catch up on some of those older movies. All right, so let's get back to Stallone's unproduced projects. So, guess which other movie Seagal was originally going to star in? So he was reportedly offered $15 million for this film. $15 million. I might have to rewatch this one, because I saw this, but I don't remember anything about it. It was the Wesley Snipes film Drop Zone. Can you imagine Seagal in the lead for Drop Zone? So $15 million, and it doesn't quite say exactly why Seagal didn't end up doing it. I guess he wanted to do, he did Under Siege Dark Territory instead. But yeah, that would have been cool to see, because obviously Seagal and Gary Busey also in Under Siege, but I'm trying to find how much Snipes was paid for Drop Zone. Drop Zone grossed 29 mil in the US and Canada, 62 mil worldwide, and at a budget of $45 million. Quite the expensive film for that time. He got $7 million for Drop Zone. So they offered Seagal more than double what Wesley Snipes got. Let's see how much did Seagal get paid for Dark Territory? So Seagal got $5 million for Under Siege 1. Trying to find how much he got for 2. It's not on here. So he got $20 million for Glimmerman in 96. Wow. Oh, he got 15 mil for On Deadly Ground in 94. So maybe he also got 15 mil for Dark Territory, because that was the same year as On Deadly Ground. Because he got 10 mil for Marked for Death 1990. Wow, he got less for Under Siege? That's interesting. He only got $5 million for Under Siege. Who knows if there was some kind of maybe there was some kind of box office gross deal there, some kind of royalty deal. But so he might have still got 15 mil for Dark Territory, but that's interesting. Lord Zez says, I might have to watch Drop Zone next. It looks good. I haven't seen it since close to the time of release, but I remember it was good at that time. But I can't speak for how good it is now. I'm going to have to probably rewatch that one again. Oh, interesting. Lord Zed says Frank went to Scientology and Sly rescued him. A deep dive would be great. Wow, I did not know that. That's crazy. Has anybody seen the Stallone reality TV series with his family? Because, yeah, Frank seems pretty out there in that series. Yeah. I kind of feel bad for Stallone just because of the, I guess what would we call it, the antics of his 3 daughters. I mean, who would have thought in the 90s that Stallone would eventually do a reality TV series with his daughters? I mean, kind of crazy. His wife seems pretty cool, though. Yeah, Lord Zed, 15 mil in 90 is probably about 25 mil today, yeah. Lord Zed says, LOL, his daughters are so outrageously hot. I'm talking about just their antics in terms of, I mean, it's kind of hard to describe. They're kind of the typical, I guess you would say, rich, entitled Hollywood young adults, which can be problematic in life. Flapop says, beauty on the outside means nothing if you're ugly on the inside. I'm not saying they're ugly on the inside in any way. They actually seem kind of nice. It's just, yeah, no, it's not that. They seem like pretty good people, actually, considering, they're Hollywood people. It's not that. It's just the, typical entitled Hollywood rich kids. Although it did go into a little bit of how Stallone raised them kind of tough. Like, he made them do push-ups, and he taught them the tenets of DTA, don't trust anybody, all this stuff. And some of the stories of how he tortured their boyfriends is pretty funny. But just where they are now in life as unmarried young adults, just navigating from a point of view of an entitled, rich Hollywood kid. It's kind of weird. No, Rusal says, ever seen House of Carter's reality TV show? Now that's eye-opening. No, I have not. Flapop says, DTA is great advice. Yes, it is. We actually did a whole segment on DTA where I mentioned the first time I ever heard it was actually in Stallone's Lockup, 1989, in the Stallone prison movie. It actually comes from way before that. We went down a whole rabbit hole of that. I forgot which. It was probably a live Q&A. Lord Zed says, I saw a bit, but stay away from that stuff. I feel bad too. I've seen worse. Yeah, I just kind of feel bad for Stallone because he's such an old school type of guy. And yeah, his 3 daughters are quite, I mean, it seems like he actually might have raised them pretty good many years ago. But I mean, what are you going to do when they're older and they're young adults? I mean, there's only so much Stallone can do now. Pinto Sack says the Yeti on top has the same facial hair as Steven. Okay. Alright, so let's get back to... So yeah, so it was supposed to be Seagal and Drop Zone as well. Now here's another interesting film. This is a really good movie that a lot of people have not seen. I have to watch this again because I haven't seen this one. Also, probably close to the time of release. I'll put the poster on the screen here. So the 1995 movie The Hunted with Christopher Lambert was also supposed to originally star Seagal, which would have made sense because of the Japan setting. But yeah, that's another interesting one. So Seagal was actually set to star in the film, so supposedly it was all set, and then he was replaced by the one and only Highlander, Christopher Lambert. Let me see if I can find the reason he was replaced. Yeah, I can't find anything interesting. Huh. Yeah, I can't find nothing. Now, here's another one that kind of was Under Siege 3 Pandora. So, Under Siege 3 has actually been on and off in the works for many years, as early as 1996. The original plot for Under Siege 3 Pandora in 96 was a giant defense plant which had been taken over by terrorists who want to steal secret computer warfare system called Pandora. It's so 90s. and it is up to the former head of security and temporary secretary to save the day. It is unknown why it was canceled, but most likely due to Seagal wanting to do the 1997 film Fire Down Below. Now, everybody hates Fire Down Below, but I actually thought Fire Down Below was a really good movie. I actually think it was one of his best movies. I think I ranked them. Didn't I rank them? They're so... Seagal's 90s films are so hard to rank because they're all so good. But Fire Down Below is one of my favorites. But I think Seagal's career, because I think it didn't do well at the box office, and Seagal's career went downhill right after Fire Down Below. So if he had done Under Siege 3 instead, I mean, who knows? He might have actually stayed on top of the box office for much longer. Pinto Sack says, the goofs on the Flat Earth subreddit were making fun of Bruce's Seagal's video. Well, they make fun of everything in their psychological projection. Yeah, if you guys want Dunning-Kruger stylings, the Flat Earth subreddit is hilarious. You won't find more mentally disabled individuals in a single location than on the Flat Earth subreddit. Heracles says, Lambert is a legend. Yeah, his movies are really good, too. His 80s and 90s movies. I gotta get some Fortress. Yeah, Fortress was kind of underrated, too. I gotta watch that again. I'm trying to remember if I even saw the second one. Did I see Fortress 2? I think I did. Fortress 2... Is that Fortress in space? Yeah, it's a prison in outer space. I think I saw it, but I don't remember. I gotta watch it again. Yeah, there's also the Highlander remake coming, which is kind of dubious. I don't know what they're gonna do with that. Starring Henry Cavill. Is it Cavill or Cavill? So that got pushed back to 2026 now. That's Chad Stahelski of John Wick fame is directing the Highlander reboot. Supposedly they're shooting on location in Scotland as well, so that's interesting. If they're gonna do it right, I mean, that might be a remake done right, maybe. Now, we also talked about the Steven Seagal video game. And I actually showed footage of it in the Seagal series. Now, I think we also talked about this as well. that Seagal was supposed to play Genghis Khan in a 1998 epic. Now check this out. Seagal was supposed to be in a movie called, the same year as 99, as Snowblind, this YETI movie. So, Blood on the Moon, 1999. A businessman hunts down a modern pirate gang who killed his family. And so Seagal filming The Patriot, not to be confused with the Mel Gibson film. So Seagal did The Patriot, which is really terrible. That was probably the first bad Seagal movie. I mean, it is pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I mean, even just the plot synopsis. We went over the filmography in the Seagal playlist, but we could go over it real quick again here. I mean, you gotta hand it to Seagal for going unconventional with this one, in terms of like a martial arts action guy. Because the synopsis here. A rural Montana community is threatened when the FBI tries to arrest members of a radical militia group. The militia retaliates by releasing a killer virus in the air, sickening most of the local residents, but not Dr. Wesley McLaren, Steven Seagal, or his daughter. It seems that Holly is immune to the virus. As McLaren races to find a cure, militia leader Floyd Chisholm attempts to kidnap Holly so his group can make an antitoxin. So this was released 1998. So apparently the backstory here is that Steven Seagal broke his contract with Warner Brothers to release The Patriot, to shoot this movie. Now, we actually didn't really talk extensively about how Seagal broke his Warner Brothers contract. I mean, I don't know if we could believe the official narrative here. So apparently he made a new deal with Columbia. Huh. So he was supposed to do another movie with Warner Brothers. So actually the plot thickens. So there was actually another movie called Man of Honor that they were already filming. So they were in the middle of filming, and Seagal had his own money in it. Now apparently there was another backer, and Seagal sued him several years after for $30 million. So apparently there's an unfinished film out there called Man of Honor that had already started filming. Huh. This is quite interesting. Man, even I didn't know this piece of Seagal trivia. That's really curious. So let's go to Variety. November 15th, 1992. Fox nixes Seagal-helmed Honor. According to his attorney, Fox has passed on Seagal's directorial debut, Man of Honor. It was a Godfather-styled drama. So, Joe Roth, balked at the film's $30 million budget. Seagal reportedly had to pay personnel attached to the project out of his own pocket to the tune of $1 million plus. Man of Honor may now be in limbo. So that's curious. So apparently there's a Godfather-style drama starring and directed by Steven Seagal that was partially filmed in 1992? What? And he also wrote the screenplay? And I wonder how much of that has to do with his dealings with the mafia. Because Seagal single-handedly took down the entire mafia in the U.S., if you guys don't remember. He testified and didn't even go into witness protection. Flat Bob says he's got some serious white blood cell count. Yeah, I mean, the Patriot might be based on a true story. So yeah. It's actually kind of curious. I did not even know about this Man of Honor film. Written, directed, starring by Seagal, Godfather-like drama. And apparently it was several weeks into filming at the time that they pulled the plug on it. Huh. Man, this is crazy. I had no idea. I'm quite the Seagal aficionado. And I didn't know this. Wow. It was actually, the original budget was actually $32 million. I mean, that's huge. Huh. So yeah, it looks like there was some funny business. There was some funny business going on behind the scenes with the studio and Seagal. And then Seagal directed On Deadly Ground instead. But that's really curious. Huh. So that was with Fox, and then Warner Brothers offered him his directing gig with On Deadly Ground. So Steven Seagal actually answered a question directly on his official forum back in the early 2000s when asked why the film didn't happen. His response here, quote, "I can't really shed some light on it because I don't think anybody knows the answer to that. When Joe Roth quit, they put a expletive damn television guy in charge of the studio. Fox didn't make a lot of pictures to begin with. They've had Home Alone, and in my opinion, that's about it. Joe Roth quit, and he knew how to make movies. When he quit, they put in a television guy. I think that's the answer, but nobody really knows. At that time, and from then on till this day, anybody who wants to make a movie with me can do so at almost any price, as you'll know if you read the trades. It just didn't make sense to anybody." Wow, should we crowdfund a Seagal movie? We should do we should try to get Snowblind made. We need to get this movie made with Seagal versus Yetis. It needs to get made. Truth Trollette says, that sounds like it'd be a good movie too. Too bad it wasn't finished. Yeah, I mean, Seagal's mafia movies were pretty good. Like Above the Law, Out for Justice. They were pretty good. I mean, a Godfather-type drama with Seagal showcasing his acting ability. I mean, he would put Hollywood out of business. That's probably the real reason it didn't get made. But yeah, I had no idea about this Man of Honor movie. So, Blood on the Moon was the other movie. There was actually a few others. House of Thunder, White Star, and Smash and Grab. Huh. It's also a shame that Blood on the Moon didn't get made, because that was Steven Seagal playing hunting down a modern day pirate gang. I mean, wow. That would have been crazy. Steven Seagal beating up modern day pirates. That would have been fantastic. So, House of Thunder was apparently a movie set in the rainforests of Brazil. Interesting. There was also Soldier in the Snowline, which I think is different than Snowblind. Seagal was supposed to be a freedom fighter helping the monks of Tibet and other refugees get past the Chinese troops patrolling the Himalayas to India. Interesting. Oh wow, Rising Star or White Star was supposed to have Ken Lo, the bad guy from Drunken Master 2, and Donnie Yen was going to be the fight choreographer for White Star in 98. That would have been crazy if that got made. Alright, so let's continue here. So, yeah, Blood on the Moon. Yeah, that was where he was going to be hunting down modern day pirates. Then Snowblind, which we went over. And there was also Soldier in the Snowline, which I just mentioned. Then there's Dead Reckoning. An ex-Marine turned lawyer sees that he's been reported dead in a local car accident and gradually learns that he's the target of someone involved in a top-secret government program. It was canceled due to Seagal breaking his contract with Warner Brothers. So this was Dead Reckoning. That's a pretty cool name. Then there was White Star, based on the novel by James Thayer about a former sniper and his family who are stalked by another sniper he encountered during the Vietnam War. Then there was Secret Smile. Can you imagine Steven Seagal in the movie called Secret Smile? A special agent is tracking down a criminal genius and has to take smart drugs to help him. For some reason, I have trouble imagining Seagal taking drugs. I mean, his abilities are so incredible. I mean, he wouldn't really need to take any types of drugs. Flap Bob says, fire-breathing Chinese Yeti pirates. Flap Bob says, it would be better if the pirates were also Yeti. Well, you forgot interdimensional. They should be interdimensional fire-breathing Yeti pirates. Now we're talking. Now we have a plot. I mean, all of these unmade Seagal films just sound so awesome. So Secret Smile. Can you imagine Secret Smile with Seagal on the poster? And then, of course, the House of Thunder, which I just mentioned. The write-up here is former jungle warfare specialist turned anthropologist teams up with a shaman, an Amazonian tribesman, and a scientist to keep a runaway cruise missile from getting into the wrong hands. Now that sounds incredible. Okay, Man of Honor, the subplot is the son of a mafia don doesn't want to follow in his father's footsteps and instead becomes a bodyguard for a beautiful female informant. Yakuza, a former FBI agent, has to save his friend's daughter who was kidnapped by Yakuza sex slavers. Note, it was rumored that this script for this unmade film was turned into the 2003 films Out for a Kill and Belly of the Beast. They were actually pretty good. And the 2005 film Into the Sun. Actually, I'm not 100% sure I saw Into the Sun. Actually, I did. I remember. They were all very similar. Lucky Sevens. The plot is unknown. However, it was supposed to be a sci-fi film. Blacktop. Seagal was to play a high-end car thief. Note, it is possible some of the script was used for the beginning of the 2002 film Half Past Dead. Oh, that film is not very good either. Smash and grab, plot unknown. Harvester, 2006. Okay, I hope you guys are sitting down for this. So, a sci-fi horror movie with Steven Seagal battling an invading force of vampire space aliens. Okay, now we're talking. After Seagal... Okay, so they actually did make this movie known as Attack Force. So it was completely changed, so the sci-fi space aliens were eliminated. And a plot about super addictive drug that turns its users into superhuman killers instead. So they reshot the movie, redubbed most of Seagal's dialogue, and re-edited the entire film. Wow, that's messed up. I mean, can you imagine the gold mine you're sitting on? When you shoot a Steven Seagal movie, you complete an entire Steven Seagal movie where Seagal battles vampire space aliens, and then you remove the space aliens for a generic plot about some kind of super soldiers with a drug that's been done 50 million times? What were they thinking? I'm kind of curious to watch this movie, Attack Force, now, just to see the train wreck. But I mean, that original script sounds fantastic. I mean, that sounds really good. So they turned it into some kind of super generic movie about super soldiers instead. I mean, that must be an absolute train wreck just due to the complete re-editing of the film. But this film was originally about vampire space aliens? Oh, man, if a director's cut ever becomes available, that might go to the top of my list. If they ever do a director's cut of this version. Flat Bob says, yeah, I'm disappointed. That would have been phenomenal. I mean, the footage exists. Supposedly the film was completed. It was just completely re-edited after the fact. Reshot and re-edited. So I want to see this original director's cut. Because, I mean, that sounds like it could have been one of the greatest films of all time. I mean, Seagal versus vampire space aliens? I mean, that's fantastic. There was also Shadows on the Sun. Seagal plays an intelligence officer who runs a medical clinic in Japan after World War II. Huh, interesting. Seagal couldn't get financial backing. That might have been a pure drama, it says here. So that's interesting. There might have not been much action. Cypher 2014. A special force operative, frustrated with the bureaucracy of war, goes rogue and tries to exterminate terrorists being protected by the government. Unknown why it was canceled. That was 2014. It's still kind of par for the course here. All right, here we go. This is unfortunate. The Swordsman, 2014 to 2018. Set in the 1800s, a master swordsman seeking to leave his life of bloodshed in the past is pursued by assassins looking to kill him and the love of his life. It is unknown why it was canceled. That sounds like it'd be really good. Seagal in a historical drama with plenty of sword fights. I mean, who wouldn't watch that? Instant classic. I mean, who wouldn't watch that? Hello, Miranda. We've been going for almost 2 hours, actually. We're kind of wrapping up here. Seagal blew the whistle on interdimensional Yetis. Now we're just going over his unproduced or unfinished films. There was also Gunfighter, 2014 to 2018, a former Texas Ranger with a checkered past is forced to take action when a ruthless biker gang rolls into town looking to cause trouble. It was reworked into the 2020 film Disturbing the Peace, where Guy Pearce replaced Steven Seagal. Oh, Steven Seagal as a Texas Ranger, that would have been fantastic. I mean, give Chuck Norris a guest starring role and you're all set right there. You're all set. Now, here is another film, Deadly Arsenal, with Seagal and Dolph Lundgren. Lieutenant Drake Cole discovers a nefarious international plot to release a deadly virus, which was stolen by an ex-military madman, Dolph Lundgren, who's set on changing the global political landscape. Cole employs his most trusted agent, Burton Lee, on the job. However, Lee has a problem. A CIA agent who he has had a relationship with in the past is also on the job, Jillian. The situation between them escalates into a war of the roses as they battle for their country and each other. They realize that if they're to stop Richards from infecting the world, they must forego their national allegiance and join forces to protect the only woman who has created an immunity to the virus, Anna. Lieutenant Cole remotely guides the trio back to the U.S. through a gauntlet of bounty hunters, spies, and killers, all gunning for Richards. However, when both Lee and Jillian become injured and Richard is close to releasing the virus, Lieutenant Cole sets out to kill Richards and put an end to the threat. It is unknown why it was canceled. I'm going to take a guess. It sounds like a first draft of some kind of high school film class. That's my guess on why that was canceled. Although there is a movie called Deadly Arsenal, I believe. I thought there was a movie called Deadly Arsenal. Okay, so... maybe it was this movie. Yeah, it's on IMDb as in development or formerly in development, so there's no names attached to it. Okay. So, here's another one. Four Towers, 2014 to 2018. An Interpol agent must battle a ruthless crime boss and his mercenaries in an Italian villa in order to save his wife and daughter. It was reworked into the 2019 film Hard Night Falling, and Seagal was removed from the film. There was also Bounty, 2014-2018, unknown plot. Then there's Path of Redemption, 2016. After the murder of his parents, Adriano is raised by a Yakuza-inspired gang, so not Yakuza, but Yakuza-inspired, called the Toshi Omoyasu. He is then forced out of the Toshi Omoyasu by some rogues of the association. On the grind to discover who wanted him dead, he receives help from two delinquents who had also had run-ins with the same organization. Adriano must figure out a way to go on to tie loose ends with the people he once called family and continue on to finding his true family's killer. It was supposed to star Steven Seagal and a famous female actress. Now, I'm going to take some guesses. I'm going to take some guesses here from the chat. Who thinks they could guess who the female actress is who was supposed to co-star with Steven Seagal in this film? Oh man. Oh man, it is hilarious. I would not have seen this one coming, actually. I'm taking all guesses. I'm just wondering if anybody's gonna accidentally guess this. So this is a Hollywood A-lister, I guess you would I guess she could be described as a Hollywood A-lister. This would have probably been absolutely hilarious if this project got made for all the wrong reasons. Justin Johnson says Sharon Stone. A current A-lister. Flat Bob says the one who made claims of assault. That would be interesting. No. Well, there were actually several. I can't remember her name. Yeah, that's it. Oh, wait. Were you also Flat Bob? Were you all... Oh, wait. Sharon Stone? I don't think she... Was she made claims of assault? Hold on. Let me double check that. I didn't think it was her. Well, yeah, actually, she said she had an atrocious experience with Seagal on Above the Law. I don't know if she specifically said anything specific, though. Yeah, I don't think she didn't say it was necessarily assault. Oh, actually, the only thing I could find, so apparently not. She just didn't like him. Here's a quote from her autobiography, The Beauty of Living Twice. Quote, when I worked with him on the movie Above the Law, he told me not to stand too close as I was standing in his chi, she wrote. Well, so that would be the opposite. I guess he didn't want her too close to him. That's interesting. So, yeah, maybe he rebutted her advances, and that's why she's so bent out of shape about Seagal. Yeah, you guys are not going to guess this. And we got an Angelina Jolie guess. That would have been funny, too. Halle Berry. No, it is actually the modern Wonder Woman herself, Gal Gadot. I don't know how to pronounce it. I've never seen any of her movies other than Fast and the Furious. But, yeah, that would have been absolutely hilarious. I mean, I don't know why I find it funny. I just think it would be really funny. I mean, I don't know anything about her. Maybe she's cool, but I have no idea. It just seemed like it would be hilarious. Because this is post... Wait, when did Wonder Woman come out? So that came out in so this would have been before. That came out in 2017. Yeah, so she did the Fast and the Furious movies. So it would have been after the Fast and the Furious movies, but right before Wonder Woman. The date here is, yeah, 2016. So this would have been right before Wonder Woman. Okay, another unmade Seagal film, Paid on Death. That sounds like an interesting name. A man known only by his alias, Assassin, works as a hired killer for the U.S. government, terminating individuals deemed too dangerous for society. When he becomes a target, he must discover who placed the hit on him before it's too late. He tracks the source of the hit to Dodge City, a town overrun by thugs and dirty cops alike. There he takes the bad guys to task in an attempt to stop future hits and save the families of Dodge caught in the crossfire. It is unknown why it was canceled. I'm going to take another guess. It sounds like another rough draft from a high school film class. So there was also Steal the Night 2018. Interesting. Then there was also General Commander, a TV series. Wow. So actually this was already shot. So General Commander 2019. Oh, it was released? Okay, so apparently... So it's a 2019 direct-to-video movie. Okay, so apparently it was supposed to be a TV series. Seagal was on set for 2 days, and then it was later released as a different film project. Okay, whatever. So Under Siege 3, the latest iteration they've been trying to make it for the last 10 years. Plot is unknown, but in an interview, Steven Seagal said, "It seems like Russia has been Hollywood's default bad guy forever. I sort of think the opposite. I think that America and Russia should be great allies and great friends, and can be. What I want to do is write a movie, which I've sort of already done, where Russian special forces and American special forces work together to combat terrorism. I'd like to do another sequel to Under Siege. I'd like to do Under Siege 3, and everybody wants to see that. We'd love to do that. The reason why we didn't do it for so many years was because there was a feud going on between Warner Brothers. There was a rights dispute, I should say, but that's been cleared up now, so we could, in theory, make that. Okay, that's interesting. For those that don't know, Steven Seagal is currently living and working for Putin in Russia, training Russian soldiers. Now, those Russian soldiers are obviously not as good as Seagal, because apparently the war is still ongoing. But check out this image of buddies Steven Seagal and Putin. Look how Putin is leaning in here. It's clearly Putin is the one with the question seeking guidance from Seagal. Because look at Seagal's relaxed posture. Putin is the one leaning into Seagal, seeking guidance from Seagal here. I mean, that's all quite obvious in the body language here. Truth Trollette says, "I searched Steal the Night on YouTube and get Bloodsport." Yeah, that was one of the songs in Bloodsport. I mean, I'm sure everybody's familiar with the Bloodsport soundtrack by now. I have to watch, what's it called? Last Kumite. That new throwback movie with Bolo Young's son. Yeah, I still haven't seen that. The main guy doesn't appear to have any charisma, so that's kind of a problem. Like, you kind of need a Jean-Claude Van Damme to star in that type of movie for it to be successful. There was also The Bounty Hunter 2020. Seagal was set to re-team with Michael Jai White in 2020, which focused on a bounty hunter and his private network of elite vigilantes who must prevent a dangerous international crime syndicate from establishing absolute power. It is unknown why it was canceled. Well, this one actually sounds like it's a little bit more advanced than the typical high school film plot. There was also Primary Target 2020. It was supposed to star Steven Seagal, Michael Madsen, Louis Mandylor and Scott Adkins. It was unknown why it was canceled. Seagal was also supposed to be in the horror movie The Legend of Johnny Jones. I don't think this is any relation to the MMA fighter. It will be released in 2024, but Seagal will not be in it. Actually, it just got pushed to 2025, looks like. Set in the housing projects of New Jersey, a young man who has known only poverty and abuse all his life suffers a mental breakdown and embarks on a killing spree unlike any other in history. Can you imagine Steven Seagal in the Jersey Shore? In a Jersey Shore type movie. Oh, that would have been hilarious. Just Steven Seagal mopping the floor with, I don't know the best way to describe those types of people, but... Flat Bob says the trailer made the main actor look like a soy boy. You mean from the last Kumite? Have you guys seen... Okay, I'm going to play a trailer here. We're going to get copyright struck, no doubt, but I kind of want to watch it again because I haven't watched it. I played it on a live Q&A before, and we're about to do it again because this is so incredible. It just needs to get made. They should have just made this instead of Last Kumite. Just give me a second. I'll put it up. Oh, wow. It's already 9 years old. Oh, wait. 3 years old? Originally said 9. Okay, 3 years old. Okay, that's not too bad. Okay, 3 years old. Take a second. Yeah, you guys are in for a treat if you haven't seen this one before. It's really well edited.
There's this tournament. It's a big tournament. I'm retired.
47 years later, we're still talking about him. So why do you think he's been able to stand the test of time?
He's a man of honor. Respectable.
They themselves just bullshitted everything and moved everything around, and only the strong survive.
I happen to know for a fact that Dukes is telling the truth.
24 years. Why? No next. Who is the next? Nobody.
They've been asking me the same question for the last 25 years.
Shidoshi?
I have poured all my knowledge into you. When you fight, my spirit will fight with you.
I start to believe in destiny more than anything else.
So this is going to be our best shot. So I can show Hollywood that it's over. I cannot lose the fight. I'm a champion. I will not lose this fight.
So that's a fake trailer for everybody that didn't know that, but it's pretty well edited. They should have just made that. They should have just made Bloodsport Redux. Yes, Flat Bob, nothing but fair use up in here. That is correct. Flat Bob says, "Oh man, I was getting excited." Yeah, it's pretty cool. It was really well edited. And kind of like did the Rocky Balboa thing where they kind of tied in like real MMA guys like Ariel Helwani, or journalists rather. And it's kind of funny how they have parodies the guy from like the character in Bloodsport as if he's like a legit MMA fighter or something now. And no, it wasn't AI. They just used clips from other movies. And this piece was, I guess they just edited. Yeah, it's not AI. They just superimposed clips and changed words and stuff. Yeah, there's just clips from other movies, and then like for example, for this shot, they just used a clip of him in another movie, and they changed the background to the Bloodsport arena. But yeah, these are just clips from other movies to make it look like they're talking to each other or whatever. Yeah, I don't think there's any actual AI. It's just clips from other movies and clips from movies and other clips that have nothing to do with anything. Like, so. And just some crazy filters. Flat Bob says, that's catfishing if there ever was. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, so how old is Van Damme now? I mean, he really does need to do a movie with Seagal, though. So he's 64. Pretty old, but he could still do one more Bloodsport if he really wanted to. I mean, Seagal's a bit older. Seagal is 72 now. So he might not have that much time left. Have you guys seen... I think I played this too. We might have to do another fair use. I don't think we should do this one. This will definitely get everything shut down. Actually, you know what? I think I actually played it in the Seagal series, so you could just check it out there. So, yeah, I mean, those are the unreleased Seagal movies. So I guess this will kind of be the next episode in the Seagal series. When I label everything, get the previous playlist all back up. Flapop says he's 72 and still fighting interdimensional fire-breathing Chinese Yeti pirates. Truth Trollette says, well, if people stay out of his chi, he may live quite a while long. Well, no, he's probably going to live a pretty long time. I just don't know if he's going to be interested in making movies. Like, I don't think he's even... When was this last movie? Let's see. His last movie was Beyond the Law in 2019 with DMX. So that was his last movie. So, yeah, he hasn't made anything in quite a bit. I don't think it was DMX's last movie, although I'm not sure the order. DMX did a couple of movies that were released after that, but yeah. Flatless says, I binge-watched the entire Seagal series in a week 2 months ago. MINDSHOCK at its finest. Indeed. Well, now we need to add this episode. And I actually have a few more episodes planned because we didn't even go over all the receipts. There's actually more. There's more Seagal receipts. So yeah, that's it for now. Plenty more to come. I'm going to try to get the Delphi series all back up. And then I got a new episode coming on that, covering the trial shenanigans as well as many other topics still left to cover, many analyses left to do. I'm still kind of organizing. In the next few days, I will have an update on the archive and the timeline, but it shouldn't be an extraordinarily long time. So thanks again, everybody, for joining us. If you want to help support the MINDSHOCK podcast, help logic and reason return to a world where it is quickly going extinct, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. You could also make sure you subscribe to this channel, the Bruce McGuire channel, like and share Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. This is Bruce McGuire signing off. Catch you guys next time.